Brock Lesnar's WrestleMania opponent is confirmed, CM Punk drops Roman Reigns, and Randy Orton brutalises Cody Rhodes. All this and more in this episode of This Week in WWE, What Mattered. SmackDown opened with Drew McIntyre making his way into the arena and demanding that Nick Aldis makes things right after he lost his undisputed WWE title to Cody Rhodes last week. Nick responded, however, by saying that Drew was merely experiencing the consequences of his own actions. Jacob Fatu then confronted Drew and said, "This isn't anyone else's fault. I screwed you, and what are you going to do about it?" Drew's response was simply, "I quit." We then saw Sami Zayn talking to Cody Rhodes backstage, where Sami said, "Congratulations, and I am rooting for you at WrestleMania." However, Cody seemed to doubt that this was particularly genuine and said that he knows that he said the exact same thing to Randy Orton. Sami explained that he said this to Orton because he looks up to Randy. He is a living legend and a 14-time world champion, whereas he doesn't look up to Cody because they are friends. This was another engaging backstage segment featuring Sami Zayn, whose character work lately has been very, very good. It's clear that Cody is still distrustful of Sami Zayn and finds his comment disingenuous. Aleister Black confronted Sami shortly after his altercation with Cody, but Sami soon after walked away. He did later pick a fight with Trick Williams backstage, goading him, reminding him that he keeps failing despite Trick criticising him for not getting things done. Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss then challenged the Irresistible Forces, Nia Jax and Lash Legend for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship. Before the match, the Bella Twins re-emerged after being off TV for like a month after claiming that they were coming for the tag team titles and said that they were next in line, and then they sat ringside for this championship match. The match ended in chaos with Nikki Bella inadvertently being kicked by Charlotte Flair, which resulted in Brie Bella getting involved, attacking Nia Jax for causing it, which resulted in a disqualification, allowing the Irresistible Forces to retain the titles. Nia and Lash then laid out both Charlotte and Alexa and Brie and Nikki to stand tall and to remind everyone that they are the dominant tag team in the women's division. I do think it's a bit weird that the Bellas returned on Raw weeks ago saying that they were coming after the women's tag team championships, then we didn't see them for weeks until just now, and now that they've showed up, they're magically next in line for a title shot. I know that's not going to go down well with some fans. There's obviously a section of fans that aren't happy to see the Bellas back in the first place. I completely understand why they've been brought back. They obviously have an appeal, but I think if they are going to waltz into the front door and get a title shot, it might be worth turning them heel, but we'll have to see where this goes. The Miz was then scheduled to host Miz TV with special guest Jelly Roll, but just before he could make his way out to the ring to host the show, he was cursed by Danhausen. The Miz is continuing on the search to try and find someone to mentor, so he offered to mentor Jelly Roll, who denied, citing Miz's previous experience of stabbing his partners in the back. They were then interrupted by Kit Wilson, who called Jelly Roll toxic, and Jelly Roll said that he actually liked Kit Wilson and did his little dance and the hip turn, which was really funny. But Kit was clearly offended and shoved Jelly Roll, who did throw a punch, but Kit Wilson dragged the Miz in the way, who got caught by Jelly's punch and left laying out on the floor. Trick Williams then had a match with Jacob Fatu, which he ultimately won thanks to interference from none other than Drew McIntyre, who had quit WWE just a couple of hours before. McIntyre shoved Fatu into the ring post, hit him with a claymore and followed that up with a thumbs down. Now, a match has been made for next week on SmackDown, so if I was going to guess, I would say this one's going to end in a double count out or a non-finish or something like that, so that the match can get remade at WrestleMania, probably with a stipulation. And it hasn't been mentioned in a while, but we still don't know who attacked Jacob Fatu backstage. And the biggest thing that happened on SmackDown was the official contract signing between Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton for their undisputed WWE Championship match at WrestleMania 42. To begin with, there was a handshake and mutual respect between the two guys who have known each other for many, many years in the business. Cody reminisced about how his very first match in WWE was against Randy Orton, and although he's not Randy's son or his brother, he is proud to be Randy's boy. Despite being quite joyful at first, Randy soon descended into frustration because he said that he needs this and Cody wasn't supposed to be in this situation. He was supposed to be facing Drew. Thinking he knew what Randy was talking about, Cody went on to say that he could relieve Randy of that feeling, as he knows that when the bell rings, he will be dealing with the legend killer, the Viper, the man that will do anything to win. But before the bell rings and after the bell rings, they're still friends. However, the big moment came with Randy Orton signing the contract and then brutally attacking Cody Rhodes, kicking him between the legs and smashing him over the head with the steel ring steps, busting Cody open in the process. He launched Cody over the announce table and then he grabbed the bottom set of steel steps and propped them up against the announce table. So you've got that corner part that usually goes around the ring post that was sticking up, and he put Cody's head right between that. And just as he was walking away, security and officials came out to see to Cody, who was covered in blood. Randy came back with a steel chair and smashed Cody's head right onto those steel steps. This was an absolutely brutal attack, one of the most vicious things we've seen on WWE television in a long time. And this was absolutely excellent. I was cheering at my TV when I was watching this, not because I hate Cody or anything like that, but because this needed a bit more edge to it. These two have got history with each other, but we didn't necessarily want just a babyface match with May the Better Man win, especially as Randy now has been a babyface for probably the longest period of his career. I think he's been a babyface now for like 5 or 6 years, and although he has reached that legend status now where he's going to get cheered regardless of what he does, his best work is as a heel. I've seen some people say that Randy shouldn't have turned heel despite this being so entertaining because, like I said, he's reached that status now, that kind of cult hero status that some people are going to cheer him no matter what. And whilst I understand that point of view and agree with it to an extent, I don't think it's the same as John Cena. When John Cena did it last year, it was his farewell tour. We all knew that was his final year in professional wrestling. And he'd also been away for a long time. He'd only come in to do 1 or 2 matches a year. So we'd seen Cena quite sparingly on TV. Whereas Randy Orton's been a regular feature on WWE TV throughout almost his entire career. So to me, this has definitely heated things up moving into the road to WrestleMania. It's definitely made this feud more exciting. And there was also an interesting segment on Monday Night Raw about this, which I'll come on to a bit later. Just before I move on to cover Monday Night Raw, if you have enjoyed this video so far, please do whatever you can to support me or my channel. Hit that subscribe button, leave a comment down below and join in the conversation, like this video, or maybe go and check out some of my other content. You may have noticed I've got the John Cena United States Spinner Championship sitting right behind me. I've posted an unboxing video of that belt just a few days ago, so if you'd like to see that, head over to my channel. And I've got a really cool video coming out next week on Tuesday the 24th of March about me and my experience going to John Cena's final ever match in Washington DC last year. Monday Night Raw opened with masked men flooding the arena and Seth Rollins entering the ring saying that he started the Vision and he's going to be the one to kill the Vision, saying whoever is affiliated with Paul Heyman, consider yourself marked. Paul Heyman then slowly walked out down the entrance ramp looking very tired and angry. I haven't seen him looking this disheveled since when he was kicked out of the Bloodline 2.0 by Solo. And for me, this segment was one of those things that even though something might be a little bit predictable, it doesn't mean that it's bad, because Seth was goading Paul Heyman and all I could keep thinking was, well, somebody's attacked Paul Heyman. Of course, Logan Paul and Austin Theory aren't going to be happy about this, but who's the other person that's really going to take umbrage to attacking Paul Heyman? And it was none other than the Beast, Brock Lesnar. Brock made his way down to the ring and threw the masked men around like rag dolls, splatting them all over the place before getting into the ring and squaring up against Seth. And just as they're facing off and I'm thinking about their previous feuds back when they were fighting over the Universal Championship back in like 2019, the lights went out and Oba Femi's music hit. This was a fantastic crowd in San Antonio that really helped make this moment. Oba made his way down to the ring and dropped Brock Lesnar with a fall from grace, which I swear was like 18 feet high or something stupid. I don't think I've ever seen Brock Lesnar take a bump higher than this in my life. Oba then placed his foot on Brock's chest and pointed at the WrestleMania sign, and it's now been made official that Brock Lesnar will be facing Oba Femi at WrestleMania 42 in Las Vegas. This was executed absolutely brilliantly, and for those eagle-eyed viewers, you may have noticed that you can actually see Brock Lesnar telling Oba to put his foot on his chest, which was a really nice touch. You may remember in a previous video when I was talking about Brock's open challenge that I thought Oba Femi shouldn't be the one answering it unless he's going to go over at WrestleMania. And there have been some rumours floating around recently that Paul Heyman has requested to the WWE creative team that Brock Lesnar doesn't lose any more matches until his final match. Which I agree with. If Brock is going to retire this year, we need to keep that aura about him. He needs to be dominant so that when he does lose his retirement match, whoever is going to get that rub is going to get the best rub possible. Now, I have slightly changed my mind on that they shouldn't book this unless Oba is going to go over. I think we can definitely make Oba look like a big star in defeat. Personally, what I'd like to see is they have a very good match at WrestleMania, but Brock comes out on top, and then Oba is actually the one to get his lick back and retire Brock Lesnar, presumably at SummerSlam. Although, of course, the most obvious contender to retire Brock has to be Gunther, the career killer. It's his whole gimmick at the moment, retiring Goldberg, John Cena and AJ Styles. Of course, he doesn't need to retire Brock Lesnar. He's retired 3 out-and-out pro wrestling legends there. But if anybody is going to be the prime candidate to retire Brock, it's going to be Gunther. And I can't lie, I do want to see that match. It's not exactly the same, but I kind of liken this to the whole WrestlePalooza situation with John Cena last year. When they made the match, I was like, cool, fine, I'm happy to see Cena versus Brock again. However, they had Brock absolutely murder John Cena, suck the life out of that arena. Nobody was happy to see that, right? I wasn't happy to see it. But at the time, I was like, you know what, I will wait for a little bit and see if this is followed up, because if they have a rematch at Survivor Series, I think the next PLE would have been at the time, and Cena gets his win back, I'd have been fine. I would have been happy with that. But they never did do that. It didn't go anywhere, and it's just like this big black stain on the John Cena farewell tour. Whereas here, if Brock does win at WrestleMania, I think Ober's still going to be made to look very, very strong. There's no way they're going to book Brock to absolutely squash Ober. And of course, there's a possibility that Ober wins at WrestleMania, which would equally be incredible for him and his career. AJ Lee then defended the Women's Intercontinental Championship for the first time against Bayley in her first singles match against Bayley since 2013. The match started off quite slow, however it gained pace as it went on and on. AJ starting to look sharper in the ring, and the story of the match was really Bayley gaining frustration the longer the match went on, as she's desperate to be involved in WrestleMania, especially after how she was taken out just before WrestleMania last year. However, AJ did retain the title after making Bayley tap out to the Black Widow, and then she shared some really warm, lovely moments with the WWE Universe, including holding up a replica Divas title with a young fan. But just as she was making her way backstage, she was attacked by former champion Becky Lynch, where this will presumably lead to their match for the Women's Intercontinental title at WrestleMania, which I think is the right decision. I think we all saw this coming 3, 4, 5 months ago. It's definitely the biggest possible match you can have for that championship at WrestleMania. And what's interesting about it is AJ has absolutely had Becky's number completely. So Becky really is due a victory over AJ Lee. So I don't think it's a foregone conclusion here that AJ is going to retain, despite the fact she's only just won the title. Dragon Lee answered Penta's Open Intercontinental Challenge and paid homage to his former tag team partner AJ Styles when he hit a Styles Clash on Penta, although Penta was able to kick out. And he retained his title after hitting a Mexican Destroyer. Michael Cole was then scheduled to conduct a remote interview with Randy Orton, but when the camera cut to Randy, he was on the phone to someone already. He was thanking that person on the phone, and then when he did end the call, he turned around to the screen and said that he changed his mind about giving this interview to Michael Cole. But he did say that he's spoken to someone that has helped him understand why he did what he did to Cody on SmackDown. He said that he is a killer, and this person has really helped Randy remind himself of that. And he left Michael Cole with the words, "Hey Cole, wrestling has more than one royal family." This of course referring to the words spoken by Cody just before his entrance music plays every single time he enters an arena. And this has fueled a lot of speculation as to who was Randy talking to. He's clearly talking to somebody affiliated to another big famous wrestling family. So your mind immediately goes to, well, it could be his father, Cowboy Bob Orton, or what I feel is more likely is it could well be The Rock. Let's be honest, when we think of famous royal families, the first one that pops into your head is the Anoa'i family, that Samoan dynasty. And whether this is just me getting carried away and fantasy booking here, it would make perfect sense for The Rock to be playing a role in getting the title off Cody. He tried to get Cody to sell his soul last year at Elimination Chamber, and although it seemed like he definitely directed John Cena to turn heel, him and Travis Scott obviously just ditched the joint, never to be seen again. That's a whole other conversation and a whole other topic for another day. But as far as we know, The Rock must be pretty pissed off at Cody and want to get back at him and cost him that WWE Championship. And of course he has the power and the influence as he's on the board at TKO, and he would be a great person to remind Randy Orton of just who he is, motivating him to go in and kill Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania and take that championship away. But who do you guys think it is? There could be other people. It might not be The Rock. I just might be getting a bit carried away. I think that's probably one of the best options you can have narratively, but there are probably other people I haven't thought of. I saw a clip of Dave Meltzer talking about it, and he said it could be Shane McMahon, and I was like, why on earth would it be Shane McMahon? I agree, you think of the McMahons, but Shane McMahon, that would be so out of left field, it would be crazy. I mean, never say never in pro wrestling, but Shane? The night ended with Roman Reigns making his way to the ring, being serenaded by the WWE Universe as he did. And he called out CM Punk so they could handle some business, following Punk's very personal comments about his father a couple of weeks ago on Raw. As Punk entered the ring, Roman said, "Welcome to my ring, and welcome to my main event." Punk said he deserved what he got last week when he got dropped by Jimmy Uso. However, it was the right message, but from the wrong messenger. Roman said to Punk, "That title on your waist is an embarrassment. You're a tryhard, and you're old." With the exchange ending by CM Punk dropping Roman Reigns with a right hand, and Roman lying on the floor, looking quite smug and pleased with himself for getting into Punk's head. Now, this exchange between Cody and Roman was okay. It wasn't terrible, it wasn't bad. Punk was, as he always is generally on the mic, a natural. He always seems comfortable no matter what situation he's in. But Roman Reigns' promo on this occasion was just a bit weak. It wasn't terrible by any means. It certainly wasn't suffering succotash levels of promos that we saw back in the day, or that time that John Cena absolutely eviscerated him on the mic in 2017. He's certainly improved since those days, right? But his responses to Punk here just seemed a bit weak. He was mocking him for saying who's the real tribal chief and that he's heard it all before, but he really didn't come out swinging like you'd expect him to, considering that Punk made a really personal comment about his dead father. Also, at one point during this exchange, Roman tried to leave the ring and Punk kept standing in his way. Absolutely fine, no issue with that. But at one point, Roman was halfway out the ring, climbing through the ropes. Punk got on the outside and told him, "Get back in the ring, young boy. You're not leaving the ring until I'm finished talking." And Roman just got back in the ring. Like I said, this promo wasn't awful. It didn't come across like Roman couldn't act. It just felt like he didn't have enough steam behind him. Earlier on in the night, he spoke to the camera and basically gave anybody in the bloodline a free hit to go and attack Punk because of the comments that he made about his family. Yet he's the one that seems the least pissed about it than anyone. And for the end of your response to Punk's comments to be, "You're old," that's really weak. It's certainly not what I imagine I would say to somebody if somebody made some really horrible comments about my family. But nothing too serious, I'd say just a little bump in the road. This is still going to be a great match at WrestleMania. There's still a fantastic story and tension between these two people, and of course you've got the extension as well of the bloodline and how they may feel about Punk's comments. I just feel like Roman came across as quite weak in this segment. And that'll do it for this week's video. If you did enjoy it, like I said, please do support me however you can, whether that's subscribing to the channel or anything else that you can do. As I mentioned, I've got that spinner belt unboxing video that you might enjoy watching, and I am going to be posting a monthly series where I review each and every one of my WWE Championship replica belts. And this series is going to be starting on April 7th with the WWE Championship spinner belt, so keep your eyes out for that one. I appreciate you watching and taking the time, and until next time, see you later.